So here is the powerful, explosive and entertaining fighter from Australia.
Jai Opetaia is one of the top fighters in the world. He has the ability to move up in weight. In fact, there's a kind of flippant suggestion that the best heavyweight on the bill might just be Jai Opetaia.
A terror travels across the cruiserweight division. His name is Jai Opetaia.
Big shot! Here he goes again. Referee Howard Foster locks on.
29 years old, the Australian power puncher has run out of competition. Now, a move to the fertile heavyweight division looms in the horizon. But how good is Opetaia? And can he recreate the success of the last cruiserweight king, who dared to venture into the heavyweight ranks?
The big fella is Ronald! Do you believe it?
Let's dive in. Those who hail Opetaia's chances of a heavyweight reign compare him to another former cruiserweight turned heavyweight, Oleksandr Usyk. For the past 5 years, Usyk, despite a height and weight disadvantage, has defeated the top heavyweights. Opetaia stands at 6 feet and 3 inches tall, the same height as Usyk, although he falls short of the Ukrainian's 78-inch reach by 2 inches. Still, 6 feet and 3 inches tall, combined with speed, seems to be a good combination to compete against the heavyweight giants. Like Usyk, Opetaia is a southpaw with plenty of speed, which is sure to annoy slower foes. As for his weapons, Opetaia's proved adept at either attacking,
Opening round, backs up into his own corner. Opetaia senses the chance here of a very early finish.
or countering.
Oh, beautiful stuff. Punching off the punches. He's Jai with a three-piece.
Uppercuts of beauty.
And he's shown that he's dangerous with both hands.
Work with him. Here we go. What do you think?
Just giving himself the angles.
The champion looks flustered.
Composed, clinical, steps in once again. Thompson doesn't have the answer.
6 rounds. Big shot. Big shot. Big shot. Referee's going to stop the fight. Referee's going to stop it.
In terms of defense, Opetaia has shown the ability to catch and counter, displaying sharp reflexes. His main line of defense, however, is his footwork, as he'll often step back when punches are fired. He also extends his arms to block and stifle his opponent's attack. In 2024, Opetaia displayed his offensive and defensive arsenal against the UK's Jack Massey. In 2023, Massey had taken heavyweight contender Joseph Parker the distance and lost a boring 10-round decision.
Good shot. So he knows his way around, but that's good work from Parker, just caught him. Oh, big right hand from Parker with a very hard-hitting Richard react for it. Look at this. He's going to go out all guns blazing.
Massey then returned to Cruiserweight to challenge for the championship. There, Opetaia pushed Massey back, taking a step back whenever his opponent returned fire, only to reapply pressure thereafter. Mixing in body shots, Opetaia laid a beating on Massey.
Oh, we know how tough Massey is. That's going to be a hard task, but you know, he's winning the rounds as he's applying pressure.
Work, really good work.
Working head and body.
Massey spits blood out of his mouth. Looks Chris, Jai Opetaia doesn't even appear to be breathing heavy.
Edge of the pace, and you're throwing so smooth and not loading up.
They're thrown in the towel.
Jai Opetaia!
It was impressive that Opetaia had stopped Massey, whereas Parker, a heavyweight, had failed to do so. 2 other fights proved favorable to Opetaia's heavyweight prospects. This occurred when he fought the undefeated duo of Jordan Thompson and David Nika, 2 cruiserweights who stood at 6 feet and 6 inches in height. Against Thompson, Opetaia dished out a beating, proving that speed and timing can nullify height.
Between them, with successes with that left hand in the opening round, to his own corner. Opetaia is back.
Throws it high as well, doesn't he, Tony?
Opetaia looking for
he's come straight back.
Exchange of shots, and now Thompson under pressure once again. He goes again. Referee Howard Foster looks on.
Jai Opetaia.
The Nika bout was a bit more complicated, as the New Zealander had pockets of success and even hurt Opetaia in the second round. But in between, the champion landed cleaner shots, brutally halting Nika in the fourth round.
This has caught fire. This fight is on. 6 rounds. Oh, big shot, big shot. Big shot from Opetaia. Referee's got to stop the fight. Oh, referee's got to stop it.
So far, Opetaia has displayed more power than Usyk did at Cruiserweight. However, Usyk fought superior opposition almost as soon as he turned pro, which might explain the lack of stoppages. Thompson and Nika, although bigger than Opetaia, were highly inexperienced. Still, Opetaia disposes of his foes early, whereas Usyk stopped boxers through an accumulation of punches. This was partially thanks to two of Usyk's weapons: defense and stamina. The Ukrainian was highly adaptable against the undefeated power puncher Murat Gassiev. Usyk employed in-and-out movement to outbox his foe. However, when Usyk fought quick and wily foes such as Michael Hunter, Maurice Bradis, and Tony Bellew, he pressed forward behind a tight guard. Tony Bellew, who was stopped by Usyk, proclaimed that dealing with Usyk's style was exhausting.
And then he nailed him right
Usyk manages to apply this pressure via his phenomenal gas tank. At heavyweight, it's proven even more necessary than it did at Cruiserweight. Usyk is undersized and outgunned against men such as Joshua, Dubois, and Fury, which forces him to outwork them. The pace he sets tires him, but he trudges on to find his second win and closes strong, as he did in his 2 bouts with Joshua. Against Fury, Usyk encountered perilous moments between rounds 3 and 7, even admitting thereafter that he almost went down from a Fury uppercut. But Usyk continued pressing, tiring out and hurting his titanic foe. And against Derek Chisora back in 2020, Usyk managed to box for all 12 rounds against a man who outweighed him by almost 40 pounds. Opetaia, meanwhile, although fleet-footed, has yet to show that he can box as deftly as Usyk has. It should be noted that Usyk also brought a deep amateur dossier into the pro ranks, including a gold medal at the 2012 London Olympics. Opetaia, meanwhile, competed in the same event but failed to medal. To his credit, Opetaia was only 17 years old. Still, at Cruiserweight, Opetaia's failed to match Usyk's skills, and this was apparent against his best opponent, Maurice Bradis. Back in 2018, the Latvian had given Usyk hell in the semi-final bout of the WBSS Cruiserweight tournament, losing by close decision. Some years later, Bradis won the tournament's second version. In 2022, Opetaia challenged Bradis for his title. Early on, the Australian displayed his wrathful attack, busting Bradis up.
Opetaia just second guesses, then he throws a beautiful right hand. Just misses jabs to the body. Opetaia comes forward and snaps the head back. Who jabs perfectly.
He will work with him. Here we go.
Nice.
But the Latvian veteran remained composed, found his second wind, and fractured Opetaia's jaw late in the bout.
Oh, big shot.
Had Opetaia possessed a tight guard, perhaps he would have avoided the unfortunate injury. Instead, there's a wide gap present, which leaves him open to straight shots. Also, when he throws his left hand, he fires it with power. But this is a problem if he misses, which causes him to slightly dip forward with his hands down. This leaves him open to counters. In 2024, Opetaia rematched Bradis. By then, Bradis was 39 years old and hadn't fought since the first Opetaia bout, leaving him with a near 2-year layoff. This time, Opetaia began more aggressively, walking Bradis down.
He's quite comfortable at the moment. He's looking to explode as well, and Bradis took a big right hand with his back to the ropes, and that just wobbled him.
But the Latvian returned fire with some sneaky pot shots and stifled the momentum.
Bradis landing a decent punch himself there.
Opetaia turned it up in the middle rounds. Once again, busting Breedy's up.
It's a good shot in there, Fletch. It wobbled Breedis for a minute. Look,
That's a
he's
good
still not
length as
recovered.
well.
He's now stopped to really have a go. Yeah, oh, cracker.
Really good shot from Breidis in the middle of all of that. Opetaia was trying to unload and Breidis caught him with his best punch of the fight. Back comes the Australian.
However, just as in the first bout, Breedis connected late in the fight and had Opetaia on the retreat.
Breedis.
Breidis wants to rough him up a little bit.
Indeed. Breedis still dangerous, Fletch.
Asking questions of Opetaia. There's a good shot from Breidis. Here they go, Richie, toe to toe.
Yeah, and Breedis is landing the better shots here, Fletch.
The fact that the older, inactive boxer once again closed the show stronger than the Australian signals concern for Opetaia.
Jai Opetaia!
Usyk's success at heavyweight stemmed from his ability to outwork bigger men. But presently, Opetaia lacks the same engine. Can he develop it in time to overtake the heavyweight division? Opetaia also needs to work on his defense. Yes, this is boxing and everyone gets hit, but the heavyweight division is less forgiving. And if Opetaia is sustaining jaw fractures and getting stunned by lesser opponents, then one shudders about the damage heavyweights can inflict if Opetaia can't improve his defense. Now that we've assessed Opetaia's strengths and weaknesses, is the heavyweight division a suitable target for his ambitions? On the one hand, many of the top 5 heavyweights are on their way out. Oleksandr Usyk has business with Daniel Dubois later this summer, and he's already close to 4 years of age. It's doubtful that he would stick around for Opetaia. Tyson Fury, with his penchant for retirements, seems content with remaining inactive. Also, perhaps his desire has eroded after twice losing to Usyk in what were the most important fights of his life. Equally, Anthony Joshua, at 35 years of age, and after suffering his 4th defeat, this time by devastating stoppage, appears ambivalent about his next move. Daniel Dubois is one of the few top heavyweights under the age of 30. Moreover, although he lost the first Usyk fight, Dubois was barely missing with his bombs. Opetaia is fleet-footed, but so far, he's failed to match Usyk's Orphic defense. However, although Dubois' size, firepower, and underrated jab pose significant obstacles to Opetaia, he's also shown his limitations by twice quitting, once against Joyce and once against Usyk.
Can Daniel Dubois beat the count? It's all over!
Moreover, the southpaw Kevin Lorena hurt him thrice before Dubois rallied to score a bizarre stoppage. Opetaia, if he can carry his power, has a chance to stop Dubois. Joseph Parker is still one of the quickest heavyweights, but at 33 years old and lacking one-punch knockout power, he'd be the slower man playing Opetaia's game. Opetaia figures to be the favorite in that bout, as Parker is a boxer who often lacks urgency. Filip Hrgović, still ranked in the top 10, is a tall Croat with a long right hand that could catch Opetaia backing up.
Time, you know, this is a 10-round fight. And
A really good heavyweight too.
Rated power shots in the center of the ring. Has knocked out many opponents with.
in the first round. I expect this one to.
Oh, that'll put him down for a second time.
However, Hrgović has also shown a frail mentality, capitulating against Dubois back in 2024 and struggling mightily against older men such as Zhilei Zhang.
Long from the outside like a big man.
Oh, right hand from Zhang and down goes Hrgović.
And Joey Joyce.
Joyce has a fantastic... Yeah, but a nice left hook.
Hrgović, remember, Joyce eked out a split down the
Based on Opetaia's grit, you must give him a good chance of besting Hrgović. The aforementioned Zhilei Zhang, although having lost 2 of his last 4 fights and being 42 years old, remains a threat. Standing at 6 feet and 6 inches tall, Zhang lacks a high punch output. However, he makes up for it with slight defense and pinpoint accuracy, which delivers frightening power. Recall that timing usually beats speed, and though Zhang lost a racer decision to Parker and was stopped by Kabayel, he still managed to drop his foes. Opetaia, with his speed and youth, could outwork Zhang, but the fight remains a massive risk. Another towering figure is the 31-year-old Martin Bakole. Standing at 6 feet and 6 inches tall, Bakole's already upset 2 undefeated hopefuls in French gold medalist Tony Yoka and the American Jared Anderson.
Both men coming to fight. Not a lot of messing around early on in this. Bakole walking him down, and Yoka's rocked.
Left hook. Oh, and a right hand, and all of a sudden Anderson is down.
The Yoka, of course, but it's just, oh, they're just.
Little sneaky uppercut again. Got him with destiny and Anderson, the biggest win of his life.
In those fights, Bakole demonstrated surprising quickness, accuracy, and power. And contrary to Zhang, Bakole applies more pressure. Could Opetaia withstand 12 rounds with the African monster? The flip side is that Bakole's regressed since beating Anderson in 2024. Earlier this year, he replaced Daniel Dubois with only a few days' notice in order to fight Joseph Parker. Clearly out of shape, Bakole had little punch resistance.
He shook his head like, nah, I didn't feel it.
Oh, no, he felt that one, and the big tree went down. Dig the waving off.
Mere weeks later, he returned against the dangerous Efe Ajagba. There, an overweight Bakole looked slower than ever, fighting in spurts, and was fortunate to receive a draw. This lethargic version of Bakole figures to give Opetaia his best shot at victory. But could the same be said if Bakole returns to form?
We did it.
The Nigerian Efe Ajagba also stands at 6 feet and 6 inches tall, and though he started his pro career looking like a terror, he's since shown his limitations. Back in 2021, Ajagba took on the undefeated Cuban, Frank Sanchez. In an uneventful bout, Ajagba proved unable to mount an offense against Sanchez's constant movement and lost a 10-round unanimous decision.
Older the Cuban Flash, Frank Sanchez.
And last year, he struggled mightily against fringe contender Guido Vianello, getting hurt before standing tall to earn a 10-round split decision. Ajagba lacks technique, both in pressing the action and in dodging shots. Opetaia figures to be too quick and active for Ajagba, provided Opetaia can sustain his pace for 10 to 12 rounds. Standing at 6 feet and 5 inches tall, Fabio Wardley is a relatively young heavyweight at 30 years old. He possesses heavy hands, which signal danger for anyone within his range.
He wants to, he can really fight back with the shots. And look how Spike Lee is.
We've seen this in
Loaded up the shot, another one on the side of the head.
goes on the attack once again, gets through with that right hand.
That's the what happens when he lands?
Now Wardley.
They call this round 13. They're taking it with a left off, and down goes Clark.
Shoot hands.
He doesn't look good. He looks terrible. It's over.
However, he's also quite stationary, as displayed in his first fight against Frazier Clark. Wardley is also relatively green, having never shown whether he can pin down someone as fast as Opetaia. Recently, he was being outworked and plastered by Justin Hooney before saving himself via big right hand. Again, Opetaia has a path to success, but would have to avoid a big man for as long as the fight goes. Perhaps the most dangerous of top 10 heavyweights is the German-born Agit Kabayel. Standing at 6 feet and 3 inches tall, Kabayel is one of the shorter top 10 heavyweights, but he remains a true big man, weighing in at about 240 pounds. Moreover, he imposes a pace most of the bigger heavyweights fail to contend with, along with some of the most brutal body punching the division's seen since Joe Frazier. Kabayel is the German knight, slaying boogeymen left and right. Back in 2023, he took on the undefeated and much bigger Arslanbek Makhmudov. Undaunted, Kabayel pressed the giant, torturing his opponent's body before halting him in the 4th round.
The Kabayel is going for, and down again goes Makhmudov. Does he step forward now to finish the job? That's enough, says referee Steve Ray, the body shots.
In 2024, Kabayel took on the division's dark horse, the unbeaten Frank Sanchez. Kabayel nullified the Cuban's footwork by cutting the ring off, and once again unleashed his crippling bodywork.
Good low shot.
Kabayel really on top.
And he's put him down again.
Before stopping Sanchez in the 7th round. And earlier this year, Kabayel took on his 3rd boogeyman when he faced Zhilei Zhang. Despite being the smaller man, Kabayel imposed a suffocating pace on his older foe.
And he feels that he can overpower. Fantastic work here, middle of the ring.
Zhang scored a knockdown in the 5th.
Punishment here. Oh! What a countering shot from Jai Opetaia. And Kabayel walked into that.
But Kabayel continued roasting Zhang's ribs before scoring a stoppage.
Coming up Bayel, and he's looking to do the same again. Agit Kabayel celebrating. It's done. Wow. It's done.
Kabayel's constant pressure and debilitating body attack figures to take Opetaia into deep waters. As mentioned earlier, many of the top heavyweights are on the wrong side of 30, but there remain some new faces ready to impress, such as the two-time Olympic gold medalist, Bakodir Jalolov, standing at 6 feet and 7 inches tall. Jalolov is a long-range fighter who can crack. He's also in his early 30s, so time is on his side. However, in his last bout, the Uzbek looked uneasy against Ihor Shevardusky. Jalolov dropped the Ukrainian, but also spent many rounds holding. Moreover, his approach turned predictable and unimaginative late in the bout. Opetaia, however, figures to have a difficult time against Jalolov's range. Another young threat is the Olympic silver medalist, Richard Torres. Standing at 6 feet and 2 inches tall, Torres is a pressure fighter who sets a scorching pace. However, seeing as how he's on the shorter side, Torres has to leap in to land, leaving him open for counters. If Opetaia remains sharp over 200 pounds, he could keep Torres turning. And finally, Moses Aitauma, another shorter heavyweight, is garnering hype. At 20 years of age, Aitauma has displayed footwork, timing, and power.
Oh, but Aitauma! Oh, that's it!
Into the back into the corner, eats it right. Oh, look at that!
With some more seasoning, Aitauma could accomplish what we're asking from Opetaia. At this point, however, it's too early to tell how he'd look against the Australian. So what do you guys think? How good is Opetaia? And can he carve himself a slice of the heavyweight championship within the next 5 years? Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, check out the rest of our videos, our podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.